Before we start, if you're interested in launching a startup, I have a startup pack that includes templates, startup stories, useful AI tools, assets, and more. Check the link in my profile to get it, completely free.
Momentum is everything in a startup. If you ever take your foot off the gas and lose momentum, it is incredibly difficult to recover from that. And startups that keep doing well, and there's new and exciting challenges every week or every month, and startups that keep growing, and startups that win keep winning, and startups that lose keep losing.
This idea of the Great Wave, I think this is the most important concept to find good ideas out there. People wonder why startups cluster in small periods of time. Why were there a bunch of companies that started in the late 90s, early 2000s that were really successful? Why were there a bunch of startups between sort of 2009, 2011 that started that were really successful? And the reason is that there are these great waves, the internet and mobile in those two cases, smartphones, that all of a sudden new things are possible that were never possible before. And when that happens, because startups can move so quickly, you can do things that otherwise would never happen, or that otherwise a big company would win on. And you want to think about what the next great wave is. My personal best guess is that it will be machine learning and just applied to every vertical. I think that's the easiest layup right now if I were going to start a company. But you all probably know what that is much better than I do. Whatever your peers are doing, whatever your peers are excited about, even if it looks like a toy today, especially if it looks like a toy today, that's probably the next great wave. But you want to identify this. What is the big tectonic shift that's going to happen in the next couple of years, and do something that's enabled by that and built on that platform?
What do you think most entrepreneurs and VCs are getting wrong about the future of AI?
Another great question. I think there are two fundamental strategies to build an AI startup right now. You either bet the technology is about as good as it's going to be, or you bet that the technology is going to get massively better. So if you are building, say, like an AI tutor company, you can build a system where as the base model gets smarter, very naturally, the level at which students can effectively learn just goes up and up. So, maybe it's like only effective for like 6th graders with the current version, but the next version it's like helpful for 8th graders and then 10th graders and then eventually PhD students. And you can just like get to surf that wave. Or you can say, I'm gonna put all my effort into just barely making this work for 8th graders in the limited case of history and do a huge amount of work to like have a human in the loop and correct factual errors for this one class. In the first world, you'll be really happy when GPT-5 comes out, and in the second world, you'll be really sad. My intuition would have been that 95% of entrepreneurs would have picked the first world. It seems like 95% of entrepreneurs are picking the second world. And then you have this whole like, OpenAI killed my startup meme. But we try to say very loudly, like, we get up every morning trying to make the model much better. And if you're doing like a little thing to get it to barely work in one specific case, that's probably a mistake.
You can give a founder an idea and they can start a company. The problem is they need to come up with new ideas for a company. Basically like every week, you have to come up with crazy new ideas, big changes all the time. We tried an experiment once at YC where we funded 20 teams of strong founders that didn't have ideas, but were otherwise really good. And what we learned, they all failed. And what we learned is that the good founders are the people that have ideas all the time. So there's an intelligence component to this. There's a creativity component to this. There is an ability to think independent thoughts component to this. But whatever you want to call this idea of this particular kind of intelligence that leads to seeing problems in different ways and thinking of ideas that don't yet exist but should, you've got to have that in a founder.
Sam, what advice do you have for people watching who either are about to start or just started their startup?
Bet on this tech trend, bet on this trend. We are not near the saturation point. The models are going to get so much better so quickly. What you can do as a startup founder with this versus what you could do without it is so wildly different. And the big companies, even the medium-sized companies, even the startups that are a few years old, they're already on quarterly planning cycles. And Google is on a year or decade planning cycle. I don't know how they even do it anymore. But your advantage with speed and focus and conviction and the ability to react to how fast the technology is moving, that is the number one edge of a startup, kind of ever, but especially right now. So I would definitely build something with AI, and I would definitely take advantage of the ability to see a new thing and build something that day rather than put it into a quarterly planning cycle. I guess the other thing I would say is it is easy when there's a new technology platform to say, well, because I'm doing some with AI, the laws of business don't apply to me. I have this magic technology, and so I don't have to build a moat or a competitive edge or a better product. It's because I'm doing AI and you're not, so that's all I need. And that's obviously not true. But what you can get are these short-term explosions of growth by embracing a new technology more quickly than somebody else. And remembering not to fall for that, and that you still have to build something of enduring value, I think that's a good thing to keep in mind too.
Yeah.